What's up everybody, Jason from Jason's Exotic Reptiles back at you with another video. Today is an important video, so pay attention, especially if you're newer or aspiring breeder or keeper. We're going to talk about what to look for when you're looking to purchase or acquire a new animal. Before we dive into the actual video itself, let's show this girl off. This is a Hypo IMG Aztec that's Het T positive albino. Now the Het you can't see, we're going to cover that in a whole other video, difference between possible Het, 66, 50% Het. But we'll show her off. She's a beautiful iridescent animal, absolutely glowing with different colors of the rainbow when you show her off, and some of the light here. Porcelain white belly, and she's actually in one of my top 5 boa videos. She's certainly one of my favorites here. I bred her a couple years ago. She came out and she's going to be one of my future breeders. Talking about what to look for when you're going to be entering into a purchase of acquiring a new animal, the first thing you want to look for is, what is the breeder's reputation? Is this somebody that has a whole bunch of good reviews, bad reviews? This is easy stuff for you to find. You need to do your research. No different than if you were going to purchase a car or a dog or whatever it might be. You want to make sure that you're doing the appropriate research on the breeder itself. This is something that's important because you're not just purchasing the animal, you're purchasing the breeder. You're purchasing their advice, you're purchasing their care, you're purchasing their quarantine procedures. So that's something that you really want to focus on is this person reliable? Are they going to respond to your questions? Is this somebody you want to interact with if there are challenges that you have with their animal? And if you get a lot of bad reviews and some mixed reviews, maybe you want to pass on that person. If it's all good reviews, 5 stars, that might be somebody you want to go for. It's really hard to get a bad review when selling reptiles. Generally, we have an opportunity to fix a problem if it happens or work through that problem. And usually the people who are going to get those bad reviews are the ones who aren't going to be there to help you through that. Something I've been getting a lot in these questions on Instagram and Facebook lately is, I purchased this animal and 1, I either don't trust the person I purchased from, or 2, they're not responding. Now, this is something that you also need to talk about prior to purchase is this person going to provide you the appropriate aftercare? Are they responsive to your initial inquiries, especially if you ask them simple questions? Are they giving you 1 or 2 word answers? Yes, no. You always want to make sure that this person is going to be giving you the appropriate advice that you need, depending on your experience level. So the next question you need to ask yourself is, what is this person's quarantine procedures? Now, this is something that is going to be difficult to ask them because you don't really know if they're going to be truthful or not. But this is something you can look at by looking at their social media, by looking at what they do and what they sell primarily. Do they sell a whole bunch of animals? Are they a specialized breeder? Do they sell only animals that they breed? Or are they also selling animals that they import or get wholesale from others? This plays into that quarantine procedure component, because if they're getting a lot of wild-caught animals in, or they're getting a lot of animals from other people, then this could be something you want to reconsider, as they likely don't have good quarantine procedures. Or if they do, they're not very strong. Why this is important, even if you have good quarantine procedures, is the stuff that scares me is the stuff they can hide, the things that don't come out until they're under tremendous stress, whether that be the temperatures get a little bit too hot, they enter a breeding program. But by then, if you're a breeder, you've probably spread it through a few animals at that point, and now you're chasing a disease or a parasite that you would have been able to avoid if you just did a little bit more due diligence on the person you purchased from. The other piece of this is this somebody that you trust to get the care information from. A lot of the times those people ask me for care advice because they don't trust the person they purchased from. And that's important because you need to be able to trust this person. If you don't trust their advice, you probably shouldn't be purchasing from them, as it goes back to my original statement of you're buying the breeder, not just the animal. This is super critical anytime you're going to be acquiring a new animal. With that said, I wanted to get this information out to you guys because that doesn't necessarily mean this is a bad person. So you really just need to do your due diligence. Before we close this video out, I do want to show this beautiful hypo or super hypo Mayan animal. Another one of my favorites, but she doesn't get enough camera time, so I thought I'd pull her out, show her off. She's got these super cool orangey, reddish looking eyes. They're solid orange red. She's got this really cool, almost like somebody took a cookie cutter and left the cookies in there, pulled the rest out. Really cool animal, and this is something I figured we'd show off. We're going to interrupt this video real quick to show you guys some corn snake eggs hatching. Rare moment, so why not show it off? This clutch of eggs was a scaleless male to an amelanistic tessera corn snake. Really cool eggs. Let's dive in. I had the first couple eggs just starting to pip. Pipping is essentially when the snakes start to use their egg tooth and start to cut open the eggs. Now, I always wait to let some snakes pip before I actually cut them. I have my little egg scissors here. Thank you, Groveland Geckos, for giving these over to me, and I gave them out to some subscribers. So if you watched that video, go check it out. It's been about 67 days since the mom laid these eggs. They're just starting to pip out of the egg. What that is essentially the babies use their egg tooth and they just make some little slices. That's the first part of them hatching. So what we're gonna do, and I like to do this, I always wait for the snakes to pip before I physically cut, but some of these eggs can get a little bit too leathery in the artificial incubation that we have, and even in nature. So I usually wait for a few to pip, then I'll go in with my scissors and I'll make some small cuts just to help the ones that haven't come out yet. It doesn't mean that these eggs would not hatch naturally on their own, but it gives these babies the best chance of success so they can get out, they don't drown in the egg fluid. We had 14 eggs that were laid. We had 13 that have successfully made it the full incubation term. One of them did go bad halfway through, so I pulled them out, I separated it. Now I've kept them all in the form that they were in as they came out of the mom. I will kind of, at this point, they're really not fragile like they were when they first came out. So I can go in and I can manipulate these, I can pull them apart, and they are stacked. If you guys can take a look, you can see that they're all kind of still attached to each other. They're all still successfully hatching, but sometimes you can have a few eggs that hatch on top of each other or that are laid on top of each other, and it can make it difficult for that snake to get out. So let's give them a little assist. Out of this 14 eggs that were laid, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have just started to pip. That's a good sign that these are ready, and we're going to just make some cuts to the rest of them. And then in the process, we can take a little peek on what we actually have. So this one looks like a normal, just a normal corn snake. I'm not going to push them out of the egg. I just want to take a peek at what they are. That's a normal corn snake. We'll let her go back in or him go back in. We'll set it aside. We're just going to repeat this process until we finish. I think you can see this, but this is the first little snake poking out. It's got his tongue flicking, super cool. I don't know if this is a tessera or if this is a normal corn snake. If I push a little bit more, I might be able to see some of that pattern. This is a tessera, and this guy will stay in the egg just for a few more days. Sometimes they'll come right out. This guy's coming out as we're kind of pushing on the egg. He pips, so he's ready to come out. We won't force him out, but this is a tessera. You can tell by that really nice stripe that he has coming down its back. We'll just let him come out naturally on his own. We'll keep cutting the rest of these here. Oh, there's one coming straight out of the egg as I'm trying to push. And that's a baby successfully out of the egg. At this point, you can see this baby has completely dropped its umbilical cord. There's no more egg sac attached to that, or there's no more embryo attached to that yolk. And just a beautiful little newborn tessera corn snake. Awesome little animals. I like corn snakes, but you can see how small they are compared to my hand. These guys are just super tiny when they come out. They will feed readily on pinky mice, newborn pinky mice, and they usually take readily on that prey items. Some snakes are a little bit harder to get going, but they usually take pretty good on frozen. So we're gonna just kind of put this guy aside. I'm gonna get another bin so I can put the ones that came out. They don't get all this hatchite or this perlite attached to them, and we'll keep cutting. This one right here is a normal. We're gonna just let her or him chill out, hang out there, and they'll come out on their own. This was the egg that came out, or this was the egg the snake came out of. You can see it's just totally flat, and that snake eggs have this leathery texture to them. They're unlike a chicken egg where you can't really crack them, but if you rip it apart, it's just really tough and strong. So the snake eggs are just inherently different. Let's do some cuts here. So these two eggs have not hatched out yet, but at this point I can turn them all around. I can't really damage them. How I make a cut is I use these little egg scissors and I just make a tiny little cut however I can. These eggs, I'll usually push to get some fluid going there, make a little cut, and then I will put the tip of my scissors in. I'll wiggle it around a little bit, make sure I don't get the snake's tail, and I'll ride it along the edge of the egg, making just a small little cut. I don't go crazy with it. Because I just cut this, I don't want to force it out too much. This one might still need a little bit of time to develop, but as it comes fully developed, he'll come out on his own. This is also another tessera in there. Just keep cutting the next one. Sometimes what's cool is you'll get twins. I don't know if there's any twin eggs here. Usually those are a little bit bigger than normal. What made me think about that is this one's a little bit bigger than normal. Some people will also cut a flap, so they'll cut a window, and I'll do that just to show you what it looks like. So they'll cut a window in the egg, and then you can pull it back, so you don't necessarily need to pull the egg out. This actually looks like the snake was upside down, so I'm glad I cut this because this snake might need a little bit more assistance to come out. This is also another tessera, really good odds so far. You can see, well, maybe you can see, is it has, this is still needs to absorb its yolk. That's the yolk that we're taking a look at. It does have some blood vessels on the inside of the egg. So the egg is almost, with boas, they're born in the egg sac and they're born live, but this egg shell itself is the egg sac, and there's everything all self-contained within it. Really perfect little package. Something I've noticed in the incubation process is as these eggs get closer to hatch date, you'll notice there's a lot more accumulated humidity on the lid. These eggs truly do almost breathe in their own sense, and they will give off different types of gases. So as you get closer, they're going to give off those gases, and it's going to start to perspire and accumulate that humidity on the lid more so than it would when it just starts. They'll also get more crinkly. So as they get closer to hatching, the eggs will start to dent in. Even though that the humidity is perfect in these bins, they'll still start to dent in, and that's a sign that they're really getting ready to hatch. So the snake is kind of hard to see in this because these eggs are very, very tiny, but this is a normal, and its head, I just moved it, but its head is kind of right over here near the top of my thumb. This guy will come out on his own. We'll let him do that, and we'll keep cutting. So this bottom egg is one that pipped on its own. Problem with this perlite is it sticks to everything. So as soon as you get some of the egg fluid on it, it starts sticking to stuff. Occasionally what I'll do is I might make this slit a little bit larger, just in case this snake moves its head position. I want to make sure you can get out fine without any issues, especially with me interfering with the process a little bit. And again, this is in the wild, some of these eggs won't hatch. Either the snake breaks its egg tooth on the way out, or the snake drowns in the egg fluid. It's in the wrong position. There's an egg that's up against the side of it, and it can't fully cut the egg properly. But that's another tessera there. Really pretty looking animals, as you saw from the one that came out. We'll see what we have in total. Got another one here. And I hope you're seeing how I don't necessarily need to be as gentle with these anymore. Some of these ones that haven't pipped yet, they do still have a pretty good amount of yolk and their yolk sac in there. There's another tessera, but you can see the yolk is just poking up here. Once that yolk is fully absorbed, their umbilical will drop and they'll be able to come out very readily on their own. There's another tessera. We got great odds on this litter here, great odds on this clutch. And even now, these eggs are not in the clear. These babies still need to fully absorb the rest of their yolk, and some of them just don't make the last couple days. Has nothing to do with me cutting or them coming out. They just failed to thrive at the last minute. Another tessera. Its head's right here. Let's see if we can just pop its head out real quick. And there is this baby's head. Over the next day or two, this guy will come out on his own. Another tessera. There's this baby's first breath to the world, and I am the first thing it sees. How about that? Poor thing. Last egg. I don't know, tessera, normal, we'll see what it is. Either way, they're all 100% het scaleless. This is always an exciting time for me because we get to figure out what we actually made after months of waiting. And what do we got here? This is a... Not sure. That is a normal. So normal, 100% het scaleless, really pretty babies. And we'll let them be for another few days. Within a few days, all of these guys will come out of their egg. They'll be hatching and they'll just go in their own bin like this for a little bit. I will put some substrate in here. I'll usually wash them off to get all that egg yolk and all this fluid from the egg off of them. They'll go into a shed cycle. After about a week, they'll shed out. Then they'll be ready to go into their own individual cages and take their first meal. Hope you guys enjoyed this type of content. Let me know down in the description below if you want to see more of this type of stuff. While we have the eggs, we might as well film this stuff if you want to watch it. If you're looking for any of these babies, check out my website, jasonsexoticreptiles.com. And if you're looking for a community of reptile keepers and breeders, make sure to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/jasonsexoticreptiles. And until next video, let's keep it moving.